Okay. Can I request everyone to say sadhu 3 times, please?
Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yato nidanang bhikkhu purisang papancha sanya sanka samudaya charanti ettache natti abhinanditabbang abhivaditabbang ajjositabbang esevanto raganusayanang esevanto patiganusayanang esevanto dittanusayanang esevanto vichikicchanusayanang echevanso mananusayanang esevanto avijjanusayanang sat Tattadana dandadana tuang pesunyang musavadanang kalha viggaha vivada tuang pesunyang musavadanang ettateke papake akusala dhamma aparisesa nirujjanti ti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today is 10th of March 2026. This particular verse, you must be very familiar now. What it simply says is the direct translation. If I remind you once again, the Blessed One says, Bhikkhu, as to the source through which perceptions and notions born of mental proliferations beset a man, if nothing is found there to delight in, welcome, and hold to, this is the end of underlying tendency to lust, underlying tendency to aversion, underlying tendency to views, underlying tendency to doubt, underlying tendency to conceit, underlying tendency to desire for being, underlying tendency to ignorance. This is the end of resorting to rods and weapons of quarrels, brawls, dispute, recrimination, malicious words, and false speech. Here, these evil, unwholesome states cease without remainder. So that's a direct translation. So what it says is these mental proliferations, which continues in our mental process, don't hold on to them. If you hold on to them, there is a possibility that they will turn into underlying tendencies. So therefore, the Blessed One says, don't hold on to them. So if you don't hold on to them, then those underlying tendencies, all of them, will gradually vanish. So therefore, we have taken this opportunity to understand what these underlying tendencies are. But the discourse is not about underlying tendencies. He is just mentioning it. So how it unfolds, you should be able to remember. When the Blessed One was resting, someone is asking a question. When he asked the question, what he is asking is, what do you proclaim and what are you talking about? Then the Blessed One says, I don't quarrel with anybody and I don't have any attachment to sensuality, and I don't have any doubt about what I am doing, and I don't have any worry about it, and I don't have any desire for becoming any state or to get to any state, and I don't have the slightest perception that the above things would reverse, that above things would not happen. I don't have any doubt that those won't happen. They are definitely happening. And that is what I proclaim, and that is what I am saying was Buddha's answer. Then this particular person, Dandapani, he did not understand head or tail of it. And then what he did was he made all funny faces and funny gestures and left. And then Blessed One comes to the monks and tells the same thing. Even they did not understand. So then one monk fortunately asked Bante, hold on, when you say that you don't quarrel, and when you say that you don't have any worry, when you say that you don't have any desire for becoming or any attachment to sensuality, and those things, how does that happen? And then the Blessed One gives this particular answer. He's saying this is how it is happening. They will have mental proliferations, continuous thinking, if I may put it in simple terms, continuous conceptualization. And if that is happening, and if you identify yourself with it in one or the other form, then what happens is it becomes an underlying tendency. Underlying tendency means that comes as something that is trying to help you. But in fact, that mental process is not actually trying to help you. It has an agenda, hidden agenda, which you can't see. And those are the underlying tendencies. And Blessed One has identified 7 or 8 of them. So now we are talking, I'm not going to go into the previous ones we have discussed, because we have discussed them plenty of times. Now we are in the last one. The last one is about avijjanusaya. In other words, underlying tendency to ignorance. So in the last discussion, we set aside understanding underlying tendencies. And then we discussed what ignorance is, because this is something that a lot of us have not paid attention to, and a lot of us don't understand well. So therefore, in the last session, we tried to understand what ignorance is. So we took few examples, few discourses, and took them as supports and tried to understand. So the one discourse said, if you don't know the arising, cessation, and the path to cessation of the 5 clinging aggregates, then it is an ignorance. If you don't know arising, passing away, and the path to cessation of the 5 clinging aggregates, it is ignorance. So that is one discourse. And in the other discourse, it says, if you don't know or if you don't see that the internal faculties, external faculties, and the consciousness arising of them, and then as a result, the contact happening, and as a result of contact, pain is happening, and this entire process is not permanent. This entire process is not solid. And if you don't know that, then that is ignorance. And then another discourse we took, and in that one, again they say, if you don't know the arising and passing away and the reality, then and also the arising and passing away of gratification, arising and passing away of the danger, and arising and passing away of the escape of the danger, and that not knowing is ignorance. So what I want to tell you or bring out from these 3 supportive discourses is that everywhere the word not knowing is there. If you don't know, nappajanati, or it says ajanato, apassato, means you don't know, you don't see. If you don't know, don't see, it may be any of those things. It may be the gratification danger, it may be the 5 clinging aggregates, it may be the dependent origination. If you don't know that these things are happening, then that not knowing is the ignorance. That is what we tried to understand last time. So, and how this not knowing is becoming an underlying tendency is the next question. What we are talking here is underlying tendency of ignorance. So now we have understood, we have realized what ignorance is. Now, how does this ignorance becomes an underlying tendency is the next thing that I am going to discuss today. So for that, we will have to understand that how this ignorance arise, how or what results, what brings ignorance, or what feeds ignorance, or what nutrients are required for the ignorance to happen, right? So there is a discourse called Ignorance Sutta or Avidya Sutta, and in the sutta, it is explaining the proximate cause for ignorance. The proximate cause for ignorance is the hindrances or nivarana. So therefore, when you have nivarana, because of nivarana, what happens is ignorance gets established. So hope everyone has heard what nivaranas are, what hindrances are. We have discussed hindrances many times in the past, but anyway, if I remind you once again, we call them obsessional defilements as well. So when you have obsessional defilements, then ignorance will continue. Obsessional defilements or the hindrances will keep feeding the ignorance. So the ignorance is kama chanda, vyapada, thina midda, uddacha kukkucha, vichikicca. In other words, sense desire and ill will or resistance. Thina midda is sloth and torpor. Uddacha kukkucha is agitation and worry, agitation about the future and worry about the past. Vichikicca is the skeptical doubts. So if these 5 things are at work, and those only what they would do is they will perpetuate ignorance. Since you have kama chanda, it will not provide you an opportunity to understand arising and passing away of anything. Because you have a desire to sensuality. Since you have a desire to sensuality, you will try to satisfy that. So therefore, there is no opportunity for you to see arising. There is no opportunity for you to see cessation. There is no opportunity for you to understand the path to it. And there is no opportunity for you to see the dependent origination of it. Because your attention is to satisfy sensuality and you are fighting with it. And vyapad, ill will, again, the same thing. You will be thinking about ill of other people, or it may be ill will of certain things happening to you yourself, and you will be angry about yourself. So again, you lose the opportunity to see the reality of things. And similarly, Tena Midda Uddacha Kukkucha Vichikicca. So these things are, Kama Chanda is, there is a simile. Blessed One is using the water simile to explain these things. When you have Kama Chanda or the sense desire, it is like colored water. You will see everything through the lens of sensuality only. So the ignorance, not knowing the reality, will continue. Not knowing reality means the ignorance. And the other one is ill will. The simile for that is boiling water. So it's always jumping up and down, always vibrating. So because of those vibrations, you will not be able to see the reality. And similarly, when you have sloth and torpor, you are not awake enough to see. And then that is explained by marshy water. So there is marsh grown in the water, so you can't see anything in the water or under the water. And next one, Uddachakukucha, is explained by wavy water. So the water is not still, it has ripples going, it has waves going. So because you have waves, you can't see things clearly because you're always either agitated or worried. And Vichikiccha is like muddy water, and there is something that doesn't let you see things clearly. So therefore, this Vichikiccha, when you have those things, seeing clearly is impossible. Since you have no opportunity to see things clearly, the very reason that is required to come out of ignorance is lost. The very reason that is required to see ignorance is knowing. So when you have this colored water, boiling water, that knowing is impossible because by something it is defiled. By something it is disturbed. So therefore, they are called Nivarana, and there are reasons why you call them Nivarana. They say it blinds your path, because Andhakarano, or deprives the insight, which we call Achakkukarano, and cause continuous ignorance. So that is called Anyana Karano. And Panya Nirodhyaku means destroy the wisdom, destroy the opportunity that you have to go to the wisdom, to see the reality, and unconducive to the liberations, which we call Anibbana Samvattatiko. So because of these hindrances, this is what is happening. Your path, your insight, your wisdom, your liberation, your knowledge is completely challenged. So therefore they call Nivarana. Therefore they call hindrances. They hinder your path. So when you have these things, especially when you take sense desire, ill will, thina middha, these hindrances are not very strong when it comes to the underlying tendency of ignorance. When it comes to underlying tendency of ignorance, we have already done with the underlying tendency for lust. So therefore, Kama Chanda has gone to very low level. And we have already dealt with underlying tendency for hatred. And so therefore, those underlying tendencies are not very strong, and which means of the hindrances, the Kama Chanda, hindrance of sense desire, and the hindrance of ill will is not there because the lust and aversion we have already dealt with. And also tendency to doubt is also to some extent dealt with. So what happens is in the ignorance, most of the time, to underlying tendency for ignorance, Tinamidda, or the sloth and torpor, and agitation and worry will be the main hindrances. Those main hindrances will keep feeding your ignorance. So if I may take an example of sloth and torpor, when you keep practicing, there will have instances where you don't feel anything. And you don't feel anything and you just keep sitting. And once the bell goes, you just get up. Right? So what has happened there is you have gone to a state where you don't perceive anything. And the fact that you don't perceive anything is not known then and there. You just sit without knowing anything, and then after the bell goes, after 1 hour, 45 minutes, you just get up. So during that period of practice, you have not had any awareness, but you have had elements of sleepiness, elements of sloth, elements of lethargy, elements of torpor. So because of those elements, you are not awake enough to know, to see, to be aware. So as a result, what works under that sleepiness is the underlying tendency for ignorance. That ignorance is fueled, that ignorance is fed by sloth and torpor. It completely takes away your ability to be aware. As soon as you lose your ability to be aware from something, then ignorance will continue. But in this state, a lot of people say that that state is very peaceful, because in that state, you don't feel your breath, you don't feel your body, you don't have any pain, you don't have any thought, there is nothing disturbing you. Ultra frictionless. But ignorance is thriving wholesale. Nothing has happened to the ignorance. Ignorance will continue to grow because you don't have breath, you don't have pain and all that, because you have gone through all other underlying tendencies. And those underlying tendencies will not tickle you, will not pinch you, will not agitate you. But underlying tendency of sloth and torpor is at work, or not underlying tendency of sloth and torpor. Hindrance that we identify as sloth and torpor is at work. So therefore, your ignorance continues. So therefore, what I usually say is, you go to those states, no problem. But when you are there, try to remind yourself that I am aware, that I am aware, that I am aware. So when you remind yourself that you are aware, you remind yourself that you are aware of the state you are in. So when you break that, what you are breaking is that sloth and torpor, that lethargic situation. So then the question is, when you don't know how you will be able to remind yourself, how you will be able to label that you are aware, because you don't know and you are completely gone and you don't feel anything. Yes. Then in such situations, what we say is, you try to see, the practitioner will have to see how you get to this state. Before you get to this state, what sort of things are happening? Say, for example, for simplicity, you have been observing your breath, and the breath gradually vanishes, and then you get some pain, and you keep observing that pain as well. That too vanishes, and then the thoughts will come, and the thoughts also will gradually vanishes. Then once these things have happened, after some time, you don't know what happened. So if he is giving the report in this manner, then teacher can tell that person, okay, if this is happening, and the last thing that happens is the gradual fading away of the thoughts. So when the gradual fading away of the thoughts happens, you be prepared to see how you go to that state. So he will be now a bit more agitated, a bit more energized to see what comes when the thought subsides. Then he will be able to see things that he has not seen in the past. So in that manner, gradually, the teacher helps the practitioner to bring the awareness to a situation which he was not aware in the past. So that awareness gradually, once it is perpetuated, he will be able to see what happens just before he falls into this state. And still seeing that he will fall into this state, and when he falls into that state, then he can go to that state knowingly. And then when you go to that state knowingly, you just maintain that awareness. But again, after some time, you will lose the awareness of it. Doesn't matter. Now you have entered and you have seen things. And then what happens is, as soon as you become aware, after being in sloth and torpor some time, and after being in the ignorance for some time, when you become aware, just immediately as soon as you become aware, you remind yourself that you are aware. So this awareness gradually in this manner is energized in such a subtle state. So when the awareness is energized in that manner, in that state, then gradually you will be able to go through the sloth and torpor state. So when you go through sloth and torpor state, and then this underlying tendency you can see, then you will start complaining, Bante, before you told me this technique of being aware at the beginning and being aware every time when I come out of that state, my practice has reversed. Earlier, I did not have any pain. Earlier, I did not have any breath. Earlier, I did not have any thoughts. Now, all these are starting, Bhante. So, what have you done? This is not the right practice. The right practice should have peace. But you have completely destroyed my peace. That is an underlying tendency. What it says is, in a cunning, in a perverted manner, our mind is trying to suggest that being in that state is superior to knowing what is happening now. So why you see that that's again you have this pain stages and thought stages is because you have cracked the code of sloth and torpor. So once you crack that and once you go through that, then you get a deeper layer of the mind, deeper layer of the physical process. So you start feeling the physical process now. You start feeling the deeper layer of pain. So you get pain now. That is where the defilements have been. Those defilements have been covered by this muddy water, by this wavy water, by this boiling water. I mean, it will not be applicable here because we are talking about sloth and torpor, by this marshy water. Because of that marshy water, you are not able to see that. Now, as soon as you remove it, as soon as you just move them away, then you are able to see. And when you see that, then you have this physical processes are happening, pain is there, and then again, thoughts are happening. So therefore, as soon as the student tells that, if the teacher is practicing mindfulness, then he will understand now he is getting caught up in the misunderstanding the progress in the practice as a regress in the practice. So when you see these things, that is the progress in the practice. That is where you have gone beyond sloth and torpor, and thereby beyond not being aware. In other words, beyond ignorance in this particular instance. So in that manner, when the practice is developing, mind will suggest the previous state of not knowing is much better. So outwardly, it looks right because when you practice, you should be at peace. But although it looks like that, but in reality, what happens is it is hiding the defilements that you have not seen because of the ignorance that is being hidden there. So that is one example. And if I may bring another example, for the practitioners to continue ignorance or to continue not knowing, is agitation and worry. And what happens in agitation is when your practice is developing so well, you are so eager to know what should be done next, what should be done next, what should be done next. So Bhante, I have been observing and that's fine and everything is going well. And I can observe my breath so well. My breath is happening, in-breath is happening this way. And this is the sensation of the in-breath. Out-breath is happening this way. And this is the sensation of the out-breath. And my in-breath starts in this manner, progresses in this manner. And then out-breath starts in this manner, progresses in this manner. And when I keep on observing, I can see the gaps between in-breath and out-breath and all sorts of stories he's telling. And he's giving a lot of information about the observation of in-breath and out-breath. And then he says this gradually fades away and it comes to a state that I don't feel breath anymore. So Bhante, can you tell me what should I do now? What should I do next? So that is, if you ask that question, what happens is you are now agitated about the future. You are agitated about what should happen next. And that happens to the person whose practice is going well. So as soon as you ask that question, you take away the opportunity, you destroy the opportunity to be aware. As soon as that question comes to your mind, then what it is taking away is your continuing awareness that was there until the breath faded away. So once the breath faded away, instead of maintaining awareness, if you ask this question, then ignorance is there. Where is the ignorance? Ignorance is not at the beginning of the breath. Ignorance is not at the end of the breath. I'm sorry, ignorance is not there during the observation of the breath when it is fading away. Once it is completely faded away, the ignorance comes because you don't observe the fact that no breath is there. Instead, you are thinking, what should I do next? So that agitation, as soon as it comes, you lose a moment where you would have observed. But the question is very valid. And the question is framed in such a way, Bhante, tell me, I have done such a nice job in observing these things. Tell me what to do next. So it's a very valid question. But there is an agenda behind it. The mind is having an agenda. The mind agenda is having is to keep you agitated about the future. So when you keep you agitated about the future in this manner, in a cunning manner, in a perverted manner, awareness is out the window. So as a result, not knowing will happen. So that is how the ignorance is established when the practice is developing in this manner. I have just taken one example. This is not the only example that you will have. The ignorance to continue based on agitation. There will be so many. And similarly, there will have instances where you will start worrying. And you will say, Bhante, I have been observing breath continuously for some time. I was able to do it for about 2-3 minutes. And after that, I don't know, Bhante, what happened. I was involved in the thoughts, and after about 20 minutes only, I have not been meditating, but I have been thinking. So, Bhante, can you tell me how I avoid this? Again, this question is very valid. But what it says is, you had the opportunity to see that you were not in the breath, but you have been involved in the thoughts. And as soon as you became aware that you have been involved in the thoughts, what you should do is you should maintain your awareness there. Of course, there was a period that you did not know, but now you know that there was a period like that. So you should observe that and you should be aware of that fact. And instead of being aware of that fact, if you bring this question, if you think about this question, what happens is that opportunity that you had to be aware is lost. And that was replaced by this underlying tendency, perverted thought that you are asking a right question. So that ignorance is fed by not agitation, but by the worry. So in this manner, ignorance is continuously fed. So these are again examples only. And people get bogged down in it. The entire practicing world is bogged down in this, including the teachers. And the teachers say, oh, when that happened, do this. When this happened, do that. Somehow or other, go to the breath. Somehow or other, go and see the walking. And if you have thoughts, going like that, you keep labeling fast, or you take a deep breath and then start over again. And those are the answers you get. So when you get those answers, what happens is, again, you are asking them to do something, asking them to choose something, whereas the Blessed One says, keep the mindfulness to the fore. This is the need. This is the absolute need for us to keep the mindfulness to the fore. When you keep the mindfulness to the fore, no matter what agenda mind is bringing, no matter what thought mind is bringing, no matter what motivation the mind is having, as soon as it appears, you become aware of it. And it should appear as well. You should have missed your breath, and you should have gone with your thoughts. And then this particular thought should arise that I have been bogged down in thoughts, so I was not able to observe my breath. So everything is going in the wrong direction. And those thoughts should appear. So then this is how your mind is working. So once you know that this is how your mind is working, you can be aware of that as well. Now you are not asking why it is happening. You are mindful of the fact that the mind is giving some suggestions, mind is giving some proposals, mind is giving some actions to be taken. And when the mind is giving those actions to be taken, you will be simply aware of it. So when you become aware, what happens is, at even the volitional involvement in the mind is getting challenged, because you now see it. You don't give an opportunity for the mind to bring any perverted idea. Perverted idea is coming, and you become aware of the perverted idea. Perverted idea will not stop, because that is the agenda of the mind. That is the nature of the mind. So that nature has to appear. When that nature appears, and if you are mindful of the fact that it is coming, then that nature will gradually subside. So this is why the Blessed One says, not knowing, not seeing is the key in ignorance. But if you see it, maybe you are seeing the underlying tendency. Maybe you are seeing the underlying hindrance involved. That is very important. That knowing takes away the food away. That knowing takes away the nutrients for the ignorance, because you are bringing knowing, you are bringing awareness, you are bringing awakening. As soon as awakening is there, all what you see is the hindrances happening. Hindrances happening means you start seeing the nutrients that ignorance was thriving upon. So seeing ignorance, seeing hindrances is a great achievement. Is a great achievement in the practice. But what happens is, when you see hindrances, everyone is sobbing, saying, Bante, my practice is very dull. My practice is completely going in the opposite direction. I'm seriously considering going for another meditation center. I'm seriously considering stopping my practice. So for you to come to that stage is a great achievement. So if you don't discuss these things sufficiently, you completely get bogged down, you completely get derailed. Because seeing your weaknesses is the opportunity that the Blessed One is giving us. When you see your weaknesses, then only you will correct yourself. Someone else seeing your weaknesses, you have no opportunity to correct yourself. Someone telling your weaknesses, you will either take it or leave it to correct yourself. But if you see yourself that these things are happening to you, then there is no third party necessary for you to urge to take the right steps. So therefore, that opportunity, that empowerment is given by the Buddha. And how he gives that empowerment is only by keeping the mindfulness to the fore. So if you keep the mindfulness to the fore, absolutely when it is choiceless, you simply allow any rubbish, any filth, any junk in your mind to come up. And when it comes, you smilingly be aware of it. When you smilingly be aware of it, then those junk will not be continuing the ignorance. So therefore, seeing junk, seeing hindrance is the way that you are challenging the ignorance, that you are destroying the ammunitions used by ignorance to continue the existence. So therefore, the Blessed One says, it is a phenomena. When your practice develops, when you come to the last stage of mindfulness, which is Dhammanupassana, which is being aware of phenomena, and in that, the first one is hindrances. And when you have hindrances, what you are supposed to do is just be aware that you have the hindrance. And when you see the hindrance is fading away, just be aware that the hindrance is fading away. And when the hindrance is again gradually arising, just observe the process that it is arising. And keep on doing that, because our mind has been developing in the entire existence with these hindrances. So just because we practice, our mind will not stop those things. Even if you become an arahant, even if you become Samma Sambuddha, mind will not stop those things, because mind is made of them. But we have an ability, we have a skill to keep them at bay. You sharpen your keeping the mindfulness to the fore, and you let them run and observe each and every stage of it. It's arising, it's fading away, its reappearance, existence, fading away. You simply keep observing. So when you keep on observing these hindrances, you don't identify yourself with them, then you take a distance from them. And therefore the strength the hindrances having to make it ignorance goes away. Because you continuously become aware of the entire process. When you become aware of the entire process, then there is no loophole, there is no opportunity, there is no gap for it to creep through. So since there is no gap to creep through, you continuously maintain your awareness no matter what happens. You don't give a damn about it, but you maintain your awareness. You will not be worrying whether it is happening or whether it is fading away. When it is arising, you will not be worried. When it is fading away, you will not be happy. When it is reappearing, you will not cry. Only thing you do is you maintain equal mind. You maintain equipoise mind. You maintain samahita. That is what the keeping the mindfulness would do. That awareness will not be what you call will not be will not have any added liking or disliking. It will not have any spices. It will not have any ajinomoto added to make it nice, to beautify it. It's just awareness. So whether it is arising or fading away or reappearance, you don't care. So when that happens, I'm repeating, the strength of the hindrances goes away and awareness becomes heightened. So when the awareness becomes heightened, then there is no not knowing. You have knowing. And not only you have knowing, you have seen what fed not knowing as well. And even that has gone down. So when that goes down, there is no opportunity for it to appear as a knowledge. There is no opportunity for it to appear as a wonderful suggestion to the practice. Those are the perversions that the mind is bringing. So therefore, underlying tendency. Now you have understood what underlying tendency is. You have understood how ignorance become an underlying tendency using this feeding or the nutrients of hindrances, and then simply being aware of having hindrances takes away the ignorance, and simply being aware of having ignorances will not give the mind an opportunity to reframe it, to readjust it, to remodify it, to have a hidden agenda. So that way, if that happens, if you hold on to the thoughts that are going on, that happens when you delight in the thought, that happens when you welcome such thoughts. You think it is a Dhamma knowledge. You think it is a knowledge of a senior person. You think it is something that you have read in the book, or you think it is your intellectual knowledge, but there is an agenda. Especially this happens using the facts in the Dhamma, and then they become underlying tendencies. So hope this explanation has done some justice to your understanding of ignorance, understanding of feeding of ignorance, nutrients of ignorance, and how they become an underlying tendency. And when you will be able to see these things finally as a phenomena. So you cannot be completely chase them away. They will appear as phenomena. You know, it happens to even the blessed one. A very common example that I'm giving is when blessed one was meditating, a thought occurred that king is taking so much of taxes from the peasants, and the poor peasants will have to work day and night and pay tax to this guy. It's such an unjust that he is doing. And these thoughts came. Immediately he became aware of them. Those thoughts came, and then the next thought was, then I can go to the kingdom and I can take the kingdom and keep everyone at peace. But again, immediately, it's a very good thing. Go and conquer the kingdom, and then you run the kingdom in a very just manner. If you tell somebody today, they will definitely help you. So, but Buddha immediately knew that there is a catch. And there have been instances where Buddha has shouted at monks and left monks. You do whatever you want to do, and I'm going to the forest. And he has gone. But when those things happen, and he is doing those things, thinking that it is something to be done, but he is aware that there is something going on like this. And being aware takes that ignorance away. So therefore, keeping the mindfulness is the key in every stage of the practice. As soon as keeping the mindfulness is dropped or challenged, you will get hooked up in the continuation of the existence. So hope this talk will take that mentality you have, and you will try your level best to keep mindfulness to the fore with a smile on your face, and do it voluntarily. Do it 100%. Do it honestly. Don't do it half-hearted. When you do it that manner, especially with a smile and appreciating the fact that you are aware, then sky is the limit. So may this talk help you to achieve the ultimate liberation, getting rid of all the underlying tendencies. Blessings of the Triple Gem.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, so we can take some time to answer any questions that you may have. We have discussed these days a very serious and tough topics. So there you may have a lot of questions relating to them. So we can take some time to ask any questions if you have. Yes, Ishan.
Bhante, I have a question. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Buddha.
Bhante, so this is just regarding my practice just outside meditation. I noticed, Bhante, actually it's in terms of going to sleep and dreaming sort of thing. So when I go to sleep and at a certain, when I'm sleeping, I sort of can feel what is going on in the dream, and I can feel the volitions that are going on in the dreams. For example, if I meet someone in the dream and they are familiar in a context of the actual world, I would like speak to them. I can like feel myself speaking to them about something related coming from like the normal world. And I also like can sense it, but what I like observe is in those dream states, like everything seems normal other than the fact that the physics is off. Like for example, you're in one scenario and then something changes, but the mind doesn't actually recognize that it's changing. But there are some instances that happened really, where I notice sometimes in the dream that something is not right in the dream that I'm dreaming. And when I do that, I sort of start waking up. And when I'm coming out of the dream, Sibante, there is a stage where I am sort of not completely asleep, but not completely awake. So when I wake back up to reality, just giving an example, say I'm lying in bed and sit like facing turned on my left side. I wake up. When I'm waking up, I think I'm in that particular position, but I'm actually not awake. So I like when I get consciousness, I can like, for example, see with one eye, and a part of the body is like numb sort of thing. I
Yeah.
think it's something like sleep paralysis. I read about it, but it's
Yeah.
not exactly that. But then after that, after some time, it sort of reverts, and then the actual reality comes. So that reality when waking up is it's partial, like partially true. So the bed this bed view and the view that I have of my body in a particular position is there. But if I try to move, I can't actually move certain parts of the body. But then after that, I go back to sleep. Then I wake up. Then you're in your actual sort of the actual reality. So just what to describe Bhante is that something that in terms of observation, something going on there, or is that anything related to ignorance and the practice? Is that
Yeah, no,
something like
well, I don't think you will like my answer.
okay? That's
What happens is when
yeah,
our mindfulness heightens,
right.
we are waking up into the dream.
Oh,
When you are
Okay.
when you are waking up into the dream, then the
Right.
mind is suggesting you are dreaming.
Okay.
So because these, whether we sleep or otherwise, this mental proliferations is happening non-stop.
Okay.
Only the body sleeps.
Okay.
Mind never sleeps. But because our
Right. Right.
mindfulness is heightened now,
Right.
especially on the bed,
Right.
you are at peace. So
Right.
you can go to finer layers of your developed mindfulness. Then you go
Right.
through the physical process, you go through the feelings process, and final layers of the mental process is happening.
Right.
Right? So when it is happening, on one hand, you are trying to sleep. And on the
Right.
other hand, mind is still working.
Okay.
So the very same mind is coming and suggesting, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Something is wrong with you, buddy.
Okay.
And he is making a big story, he's making a big short story, big novel.
Right.
And people are writing bestsellers after that. This
Understood.
is the reality that is happening
Right.
because our awareness, what awareness does is wake you up.
Right.
And that waking up is happening, and the mind is trying to create a suspicion over it and see
Right.
how mind tried to do that. Mind brought three scenarios
Yes.
and tried to say that you don't get a proper sleep and something is wrong.
Right.
This is how the skeptical doubt is trying to
Right.
be brought as a
Right.
good suggestion. These are the underlying tendencies. So
Oh,
for the practitioners, what they have is not the transgressional or obsessional defilements. The practitioners cannot identify the underlying tendencies. Practitioners cannot identify the imperfections. So that is what is really supported by the discussion. So this is why we ask for the reports. So don't
right.
worry about it is happening.
Right.
Now say blessed one slept only 1 hour, and even that is not full sleep because he's awake all the time because his mindfulness is so high. And he's always at ease. When the mindfulness become heightened, when you simply become an observer only, and your volitional involvements reduces to nothing. So when it reduces to nothing, there is no process which waste your energy. There is no process which destroy your energies. There is a huge conservation and regeneration of energy.
Understood, Bharat.
So therefore, it's due to the practice. And if after that you said in the last case you
Yeah.
slept well, and there
Yeah.
only you
Yeah.
have gone
Yeah.
into ignorance.
Okay. I understand. Okay. Okay.
All
So
right.
I not that I just reported it, Bhante. It's not that I
No,
read.
I know.
It,
Mm.
so in terms of my practice, I have no intention of stopping my
Yeah,
practice or anything like that. So because it
yeah.
actually happened even before, I started. Actually, it happened. Like I can remember very clearly, like, it has happened sometime before when I was meditating, sometimes before as well. And but I'm not sure it is related to meditation or not. But it was just a phenomenon. I was interested in finding out more
Yeah.
about it. So thanks for
Usually,
that one. Yeah.
usually the sleeping duration of the practitioners gets reduced.
Understood, Bhante. Yes,
Yeah.
I had like for some examples, I had like a reduced sleeping time. No, I was also just checking to see whether it was anything to do because I had this brain thing. So I was just
Mm.
checking whether it's anything to do for that because
No.
even in the before the surgery that I had, Bhante, my previous sort of Guru Handru before he was actually sick and he passed away soon after I did the surgery. So he was telling to be sort of aware and mindful during like the entire his advice was during that entire thing to be mindful. So like when I got unconscious sort of thing. After taking anesthesia, I was like trying to be conscious of everything that was going on, and they were like scenarios I actually thought they were real. But when I sort of got up, when I got up from it as well, Bante, I was like covered in the blanket. Normally they give you to keep you warm for surgery. So
Yeah.
once I got up, I noticed in my dream state, I noticed like, okay, I'm covered sort of thing. And then I in that state, I thought I'm going to raise my hand sort of thing. And then when I came out, it actually raised the hand in the physical world. So it had like sort of some sort of connection there.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, that's similar to what was happening, where it's like partial reality when waking up. So that just why I just asked that question.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Keep it up. Teruvan Saranai.
Saranai.
Anything else? Anybody else? Yeah. So if there are no the questions, comments, suggestions, we can transfer the merits to the rest of the world, the positive energies that we have gathered from the practice, from the discussion, and from listening to a talk. We will pass all these energies to the rest of the living beings. And to do that, can I ask this time, Ishan, to chant, please? If you can do it in English, would be good.
Sorry, Bhante, they broke up. Was it? Did you ask me? Or?
Yes, yes. Can you do
Okay.
it in English? I've shared
Yes.
the screen.
May all devas share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all other beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all the beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the dispensation. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dhamma, to be seen here and now, timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practice well the incomparable. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives and may they be happy. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you everyone for joining. And if I may ask, a newcomer is here. And can we help? She's, hello, how are you? Can you help you with anything? You're muted.
I'm good, thanks, Bante. Yeah, I'm Nobly, Charitra's friend.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes.
So, right, okay.
Thank you for the
So,
talk tonight, Bante.
do you understand
Yeah,
what we
it's
are
really,
talking about, or
yes. It's really helpful. Yeah.
sort of?
Because that's the
Right, okay.
the things that Charitra and I were discussing this evening. So yeah,
Okay.
it was helpful. Yeah, thank you,
All right.
Bante.
Great. Teruvan Saranai. All right, I'm going to conclude here. See you next time.
See you,
Thank
Bande. Yeah.
Thank you, Bante.
Teruvan
Teruvan
Saranai,
Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai, Teruvan Saranai.